Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody is safe and doing good. Thanks, Prem, for inviting me here. It's always a pleasure to be on this forum, and I've seen it growing from strength to strength. So I will not waste much time. Let me dive into the topic straight away. And thanks, Kavya, for the introduction. Okay, so basically, the whole day today, yesterday, there are a lot of people who have shared their ideas and stuff like that, mostly on how you create wealth. So it is suddenly, at 6 o'clock in the evening, you want to know how you want to preserve wealth, and then how do you want to transmit wealth and create a legacy for whatever you have created. So I'll try my best to at least explain how it is important to do estate planning after you have created enough wealth for yourself. Otherwise, there is no meaning to whatever people have done. And in fact, to be very, very honest, I have done it myself just about a couple of years back. In spite of being in the industry for about 30 odd years, I've done it only 2 years back. But though I've been advising people to do it throughout all my 30 years, but then this is the last priority for anybody when you ask on how do you transmit and how do you preserve and then transmit and stuff like that. So let's get going. So I'm making a presentation on the estate planning and why it is important and how we can do it. So what is estate planning? I think that's the primary thing that we need to know. So as I said, you would have already been, you would have heard the throughout yesterday, today, in terms of different asset classes, what you do, how you manage, how you do the asset allocation, your risk appetite, etc., etc. So I will not dwell into that. So during a person's lifetime, so a person can create assets. And what are the kind of assets? These are mostly the financial and non-financial assets. Real estate. Now, real estate can be created on a non-financial, so on a financial form also. You don't necessarily need to have it as a hard asset, but yeah. So most of them have a lot, especially in India. People have a lot of real estate, then financial assets, mutual funds, FDs, the etc. etc. And then other hard assets like jewelry, etc. So there are two things that is required when you have all these assets. So one is you have to ensure that you have a decent enough advisor to guide you and see how these assets are performing, etc., etc. So assuming that that is in place during your lifetime, the most important thing is to ensure that they are safe, they're giving you the returns that it is expected to give and stuff like that, and then any kind of income distribution that you're depending on and things like that. So that is during your lifetime. Now, so you created this, your whatever you wanted to achieve, you have done it, including what income you're getting, etc., etc. So what do you do, and what how easily and well you pass it on, and what are the things that you can do post your lifetime to create a legacy. So one is how do you transmit it seamlessly into future generation, which is very, very important with the families growing and multiple complexities, etc., etc. You want to have it easily accessible for your future generation. So that is the first thing. Second is a lot of people also during their lifetime, when they've created something with the large assets, say that, okay, I don't know whether my inheritors would want to do it, but I would want to create something for charity. So you can actually create during your lifetime for post lifetime purpose on something on charity. And last but the most important thing is special care. So two things. When I say special care is, in fact, we have done as recent as about 3 or 4 years back, I was advising somebody. And then we had done for a person who's about 72, 73 years, who could not sign properly. So he came to me and he said that, look, my kids are abroad, and then I need to, in case if I fall sick, and both me and my wife fall sick who are same age, how do we, manage if I'm not able to sign a check, etc., and stuff like that. And the second is, if people have special children, what do you do post your lifetime, how they are taken care of and stuff like that. So there are various things that you need to do apart from just passing on the legacy. So these are some of the things that I have tried to explain, but there are a whole lot of different reasons that you may have, other than what I have mentioned, for you to create a structure for it to be easy post your lifetime. So assuming that you are clear in terms of what you want, now let's get to the negative aspect. So first thing is, what happens if something happens, uh, if somebody dies interstate, and then there is no estate plan at all. There can be different you can be part of either an inter-community marriage, or you may be a Hindu, Muslim, Parsi, Christian, etc. Any one of the communities in the country. I've just restricted to just about 4, and then inter-community. Legal heirs of the deceased estate have to apply for a succession certificate from the relevant courts. Now, when you apply to the relevant courts, if you are a Hindu, it is as per the Hindu Succession Act. If you're a Muslim, it is as per the Sharia law. Of course, Christian and Parsi is Indian Succession Act, along with, if you are having an inter-community marriage, it's through the Indian Succession Act. The problem here is, if you die interstate without any will or a trust put in place, the kind of complications that I have seen while managing wealth for large families, the whole wealth that was created during the lifetime of the person, the deceased, completely gets lost. So it's very, very important during the lifetime, the person prepares at least a will to start off. And if it is complicated and if it is a large estate, then depending on what you want, you can go through trust. So we'll come to that in the next slides. So when we speak about estate planning, what are the things that are forms part of estate planning? What are the things that one can do? As basic as I always keep telling that a nomination is a must. Whenever you make an application, whether you're buying a house, you're buying a mutual fund, you're having a demat, if you're not having a joint holding well defined, it is very important that at least a nomination is there. Nomination doesn't mean anything, but at least there is a person after the deceased moves on, the person who is nominated can take action basis the will that is left behind. Or in case if you are very clear during your lifetime how it has to be passed on, etc., you can actually do the gifting and then pass it on during your lifetime itself, which some people do it, but most of them would want to do it after their end of their life, because they want to spend the way they have plans, whether it is for charity, whether it is for buying any new assets, etc. They normally do it post the death, but if somebody wants to, they can do it during their lifetime also. But there are two most important things that comes across in the estate planning is wills and trust. The basic stuff is sorry. The basic thing is that at least a will in a small piece of paper is a must for everybody. Whether your size of your estate is just 10 lakh rupees or 1,000 crores. Whatever it is, if you don't want people to suffer post your death, you have created the wealth over a period of time with great difficulty, and also with the great care. you don't want it to squander away without a will, and then there are a lot of claimants, etc., etc. So at least my suggestion here is that every person, at least through in a piece of paper, writes down what are the assets and then how it has to be transmitted, irrespective of the size of the thing. However, the larger the estate, it is always better to take professional advice and then get the wills done. And there are ways, I mean, there is no need technically to register the will, but it makes sense to register the will, because when you go to the court for transmission, if it is registered, it becomes easier in the court, and so on and so forth. And the last one is the trust. I mean, that is how you can do it based on your requirement. We'll come to the will and trust separately in the next slides. So wills, what are the, I mean, as I said, a will is absolutely a necessity for anybody who has any kind of asset, whatever be the age. Though I did it just about 2-3 years back, but I recommend people that they do it very early in their life. And will, it helps to avoid any complication related to interstate succession. That is, if you die suddenly, if something happens to the person, then at least the will, based on the will, the transmission can happen. So it becomes easy for the survivors. It is simple and easy to execute. As I mentioned, you can just write it in a piece of paper. You can register it. You don't have to register it also. But the suggestion is that you register it so that it becomes easier when you go to court for transmission. And one thing you have to be very, very clear is that it can be amended during your lifetime at any point of time. It can be revoked. It is not that what you have written in a piece of paper or registered is cast in the stone. You can always change it at any point of time, depending on your how you want to take it forward. And you can define the wishes through the will. Now, these are some of the positives, and these are absolutely necessary for a common man to whatever person. And then the second part is in terms of what are the negatives of just having a will. It can always have a dispute. It can be contested at any point of time. Obviously, any will can be contested even if it is registered. Claims from relatives, non-relatives, it is again, if it is contested, obviously anybody can claim, and then it has to be proved in the courts. Time-consuming probate formalities. Probates, obviously, if you're in Chennai, Kolkata, and Mumbai, probate is compulsory. You have to get the probates done, and that is a little time-consuming factor. But the rest of the courts don't need probates. And estate duty risk, obviously, it is not there today, but at any point of time, it can happen. The succession inheritance tax, which we keep on talking about regularly at the newspapers, keep saying that is budget mein aayega ya ek do saal mein aa jayega and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so you can avoid all this if you go through a trust, but through a will, if it is transmitted, then, and if there is an inheritance tax, like how it is in the US. Japan, the inheritance tax is something like 74%. In US, depending on state to state, many a times when persons inherit assets, they end up selling the asset or borrowing money to pay the taxes before they can actually gain control of the assets. The next thing that one can do is creating a basic trust structure. Trust structure has three components. Basically, one is settler, which is the person who's creating the trust. The trust itself, and trust is driven by the trust deed and letter of wishes. And then the trust is governed by trustees. The trustee can be family members. You can be a trustee yourself till your life and then have external trustees. There are now corporate trustees who can come in and then do the stuff for you. There are agencies, estate planning, this companies who can actually run it perpetually for you with the corporate trustees and the beneficiaries. And you can always have a advisor or a protector uh, as a advisor to the trust who can advise the trustees in case of any specific thing that has to be done, and that the settler can actually uh, mention it as a part of the at the time of creation of the trust, who can be the advisor or the protector of the trust. So this is a very, very basic trust structure what I have actually explained. But within that, within the trust, there are two types of trusts. I'll jump into that quickly. Benefits of, okay, before I get into what are the types of trust structures, I'll just run you through what are the benefits. For a businessman, it is useful for separating business assets from personal assets. Uh, if I have to explain here, uh, in case because of your business issues, typically what happens is your personal assets can get attached. If your assets are created under a trust structure, then you can actually completely avoid in even for any business contingency, nobody can touch your personal assets. Securing assets from business and professional risk, and this is exactly what I said just now. Securing assets from withering away due to family issues. If it is not part of a trust and if it is not defined, each person can decide, wants to do different things, and then it can go all over the place. Preserving assets for future use. Management of assets in the most tax efficient way, especially if you have beneficiaries living abroad and stuff like that. You can plan your tax efficiently on a global basis. And then this is during your lifetime. Post your lifetime, how it helps is enabling the intergenerational wealth transfer, controlling end use of funds by way of your wishes that you would have written, how people can use the money and stuff like that. Providing financial support for the family, ensuring care of special family members I just mentioned, in case if there is a special kid and the kid has to be taken care of post your lifetime, you can create a trust structure separately for that. If you want to take care of yourself in case of any contingency, once you get old, in terms of your medical requirements, you can create a separate trust structure separately for that, just in case you are not able to sign or you're out of mind and stuff like that. Minimizing the transfer cost. And when I say minimizing transfer cost, inheritance tax, even if it is there, trust is a perpetual entity, so you don't end up with any kind of this one, I mean, inheritance tax at all. And reducing chances of family disputes if it is very well defined. So I think these are some of the things that can happen during and after, but there is absolutely no limit to what you can do within a trust structure. And for whatever reason, you can think about it. If you think that this is going to be a risk, if you leave it open, you can create a trust structure and define things, how the beneficiaries, how and when the beneficiaries will get the money. So this will be my last slide before I conclude, is what are the types of trusts what you have. There are two types of trusts broadly. One is a revocable trust and one is a irrevocable trust. Revocable trust, during your lifetime, you can revoke it, you can change it the way you want it. You can pass on the assets to the trust, and then subsequently, if you want to change and take it back in your name, it is possible. I mean, this is for lack of time, I'm just rushing this through. But in the irrevocable trust, what happens is, once you pass on, you can't take it back. Then it becomes cast in stone. But the beneficiaries can do what they want, but you as a settler will not be able to do anything. So just to conclude here, while everybody is obsessed on how to make money, how to create wealth, the last and the least they want to look forward, I mean, they want to do is even creating a basic will, leave alone a trust. So I think these are some of the things that are very, very important during your lifetime and post, so that whatever you have created, legacy that is created, is passed on, and it is put to use, proper use, for the benefit of the beneficiaries, and a legacy is created. So that's from my side. Thank you.
Manoj, that was a very lucid presentation that you made. You explained a very complicated and a vast subject, and you put it down in such a accurate way, I should say. So thank you so much, Manoj, for being with us. And over to you, Kavya, now.